You know, my whole channel revolves around the Mediterranean and the Blue Zone diet. And what couldn't be easier is Greek dressing. And so today we are making a very easy Greek dressing, which I keep on repeat all the time. It's delicious, it's easy, and it delivers. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started on our Greek dressing. So this recipe is easy, and there are a few steps that when I make it myself and it's just me, I don't exactly follow the recipe like I should, but I want to show you presentation-wise so you can do it for a party, for a event, or just so you can make it beautiful so you start to enjoy it. So there's a couple steps. First, we get our onion ready. Peel the outside of the onion. And this is a step that I don't necessarily do, but it is traditional. And so what it is they do about a tablespoon and a half of onion, but what they do is they let it sit in a little bit of lemon juice to take off the harsh edge. Now, I've always had the harsh edge in there, but what you want to do is slice it micro thin. You could cut it in small squares. You can do whatever you want, but I've always cut it pretty thin, so it's very beautiful to look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this sit for 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe give it a little bit more lemon juice. I don't want to waste it. I don't like wasting it. Now, you could do that with vinegar too. Basically, we want an acid to sit there on those with the salt. And we're going to pour that off. So don't worry about that juice. And because it has salt in there, we'll taste this as we go so we don't over salt anything. You know, I'm not a fan of adding any salts where we don't need it. Why raise your blood pressure if you don't have to? Okay, so we're going to do primary ingredients first, then we add our olive oil after we get everything emulsified. So we've got our olive oil sitting here, but we need 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice. And clean your lemon and squeeze that, but also keep some of the zest for later. This is zest from a drier onion, and it peels very beautifully. So we have 1/4 cup of the lemon juice. We have 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And so I have made this where I just use completely lemon or completely red wine vinegar. And this recipe uses a combination of both, and they're both lovely. I've done it 1,000 times, and you just need an acid, and both bring flavor and fragrance. So that is what is nice about that. There's 1.5 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, and this helps emulsify it, and it's tart and it's substantial. If you don't like mustard, don't put it in. And 1.5 tablespoons of honey. And I buy Greek honey. It's very good, but I eat that on bread. And I buy other honey for baking purposes because the Greek honey is pretty expensive and it's highly fragrant and delicious. So I kind of like to use other honeys in my dressings. And the honey just is to take off the edge. It doesn't make it sweet per se. It takes the harshness down of the vinegar, of the lemon juice, of the garlic. So it kind of is very nice in there. And we need 1 small clove of grated garlic. Okay, I've got a big and I've got a small. So I like a lot of garlic. So I would use a larger one than this, but then that one is too big. So we'll go with the small, and if it needs more, I'll put more in. But I just grate right into my bowl. Now we're talking. That garlic is beautiful. stir that up. We need 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, and I always crush that in my hands. If you have fresh oregano, you use 1.5 teaspoons, but if you have dried, use 1, but crush it to release the fragrance. And 1/2 teaspoon of our lemon zest goes in there, and oh, it just adds beautiful zippiness and oil. Now it calls for salt, but we are adding feta, so I'm going to put in a big pinch. And as you know, if you've watched me before, I taste things as I go, because if I can cut out salt, I'm going to. And then you could add black pepper if that's all you have, but if you have white pepper, you will reduce the flecks that were in there. So we're going to just put in a teaspoon, and that's a little bit more fragrant and flowery, but it goes perfect. And then for the olives, I want to show you this cutting method that makes them very beautiful in presentation. We're going to cut them in thin slices. Don't cut them in rings. That looks sort of funny. Cut them in slices and make them in like little tapered ribbons. Now I'm going to show you a little trick that when I make it, I don't care that my dressing is colored and becomes a little purplish. It always does. But if you are looking for kind of a purer color and to not have it turn purplish, you can just give them a little bit of a drying after you cut them. The flavor is inside the olive. The olive is very dense. So you've got, oh, it smells delicious. I'm going to put in 1.5 tablespoons, and I love these, so my tablespoons are heaping. That's closer to 2, but I'll probably even add those in later, but for the sake of the recipe, we will stir this. So I'm going to rinse off my onions now. I have been doing a lot of pickled vegetables lately, and that is one of the stages with a pickled vegetable to take out the bitterness. And I used to think kind of the bitterness was part of the flavor, but it does make a difference. It's very lovely. Now look how pretty that is. See, doesn't that already look very appetizing? Okay, now we're going to slowly whisk in the olive oil, and then we add the feta at the end. And these onion strands are big enough to sustain you using them. I mean, you don't want to beat things up, that's for sure, but be gentle. It's just salad dressing, and it is looking gorgeous. See, the strands of the onions are staying solid. And we have 3 tablespoons of feta, which I'm just going to crumble. And this is going to just be stirred lightly, because you don't want the feta to go way in there and turn into a cream. Now it's going to taste the same. I've done that 1,000 times, but you just want kind of elegant, chunky pieces, because people love landing on a chunk of olive or feta. As you can see, we have a beautiful dressing that is elegant. You can see everything. Oh, okay. I'm going to take a little taste to see if it needs more white pepper, if it needs more acid even. It could need a little bit more lemon or a little bit more vinegar, and see if it needs any more white pepper. Go down there. I'm going to say it might need a pinch more salt. This is a lot of dressing. This will be like a week's worth of over my baby greens or over my beans, over a pilaf, dipped in bread, over salad. It goes on a lot. I am going to add a little bit more white pepper. I want a bit more bite. Black pepper, if you have it, no big deal. I just got this a while back for Asian foods, and I find it comes in a little handy. And that, you know, and it does stop there from being black flecks in here. Okay. Let me taste that now. That is a beautiful dressing that you are going to love on everything. That Greek salad dressing is, of course, beautiful on salads, but it can be used on grain bowls, stuffed into pita, and I just put over beans, cannellini beans. It is delicious. The cheese is still visible. It hasn't broken down. The onion is still crunchy. The Greek olives deliver. And the honey and lemon sat and marinated. It is divine. I want to thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon.